Hello, everyone. This is Doug Davis, broker in charge of Corambi Realty, and another session of Ask Doug. So a lot of people ask me about what we do for signing at the notary, and if you're in another state or if you're in another country or elsewhere. So how do you verify documents? And most notably, it's the deed. The deed is the document when you're selling a home that is the most critical. It needs to be verified that the person selling is who owns it, and they get the money in return for signing over the deed. So there's a process that has to happen to verify this critical document. So what are the legal ways that one can do this? Okay, so let's start out with the most prevalent process, and that's where you're, say, here in Hawaii, escrow calls you and has you come in to sign off all your documents, and you sign a lot of different things, tax forms and initialing the prelim and the survey and the termite, and you're satisfied with everything, and you sign the deed. The deed has a couple steps there. The escrow officer or a notary will take your identification, usually a Hawaii driver's license, makes notes on that, makes a copy of it, looks at you, looks at the driver's license, and then has you sign in the notary book. And that's the process of verifying that you are who you say you are and that you're going to be signing the deed, and then you go ahead and sign in the notary's presence. So that's how it is, the most simple step on doing it. Okay, so what happens if you're not in Hawaii and you're, say, in California or anywhere, any of the other 49 states? Well, that's simple too. You just sign in front of a notary wherever you can find one, and it's the same process. Then, of course, you have to mail the original wet signature copy back to the escrow company here. So that's easy. Okay, so now what if you're in a foreign country? Let's say you're in Canada, because I have two examples for that. You would need to go to the closest US embassy. Well, that's not necessarily very close to where you might be. Might be quite a drive or even a air flight. But that's one way of doing it. So another method would be in a foreign country to get what I would say would be a fancy notary. It's called an apostille, and that's a French word for certification, but only for the current 89 countries that have signed and ratified with the Hague Convention of 1961. If you are in one of these 89 countries, then you can use an apostille. And you don't have to go to the US consulate or embassy to sign. So that's a convenience. And of course, you still have to mail to the escrow the original wet signature, original copy of the deed that you just signed in front of that person. I mentioned Canadians had two examples. Well, yeah, there's other methods. Canadians oftentimes will just drive across the border to US and find a notary and sign in the US, which makes it very simple and oftentimes much closer than going to the US embassy. So that's one way. I once had a seller some time ago that was on a nuclear submarine, and he needed to sign his closing documents, which he did when he was out on a mission. Apparently the sub came up one day, put their antenna up and transmitted documents. The captain had him sign in his presence, and then they sent out the electronic version, which was accepted. And all Navy ships are considered, no matter where they are on the planet, above or in foreign waters, that's US territory. So it's not that much of a change. So that was an interesting one. And then there's a new thing that's coming up. Because of COVID and the emergency acts, therefore, even Hawaii has been required to accept a new type of notary that uses a audio-visual method of verifying the person. So like a Zoom call, and the notary talks and looks at the person, looks at their identification on Zoom call, and uses a number of other methods to verify the person to their satisfaction. And then our bureau is required to accept that now during the emergency orders for COVID, social distancing and all that sort of thing. So there's a number of states that have accepted this more than Hawaii has accepted it. So right now, Title Guarantee escrow company uses the Florida system to verify people that are not in the United States. Again, all of these things have to be wet signed and sent back, and goes to, well, except for this one, which is electronic, and that is allowed at our bureau because of the COVID Act. So hopefully that's a break, and perhaps they will someday accept DocuSign signatures, because they everything else is so easily done by DocuSign. So all of this, again, because we're dealing with enormous amounts of money, and they want to make sure that that the person signing is the correct person that needs to be signing, and signing away their home, and exchanging that for money for the buyer that's buying the home. That's what the whole process is, and to make sure that it's legitimate. That's what the whole process is about. So it's all sorts of methods to keep it safe. So anyway, hope that's been of interest to you, and until next time.